And I can hear your audio and my audio fine. Sweet. Well, in that case, we're good to go if you are, Wes.
I'm good to go.
Okay, cool. Let me just grab my book, which I don't have. Sorry, give me 2 seconds. I'll just get my book and then we're ready to go.
Just drop Brian out of the game. Yeah.
Did you kill me?
No, I think it's dropped you out of the game.
Oh,
Or,
what?
But maybe if I kill myself, that might
Well, I'll
actually...
click restart level, see if that works.
3, 2, 1, go!
No. What the hell? Oh, there you go, I'm in.
I know.
You have to, it's
It
drop
might-
in, drop out, that's why. You have to press like L2 and R2 or something like that to join.
Oh, I hope that doesn't happen again in the middle of the game.
I'm sure it won't do.
Oh shit.
Okie dokie, so if you're ready to start, then let's go.
Yeah, so just, I won't say anything except answering the questions and just...
You could say other stuff as well, it's fine, but this, I'll just to let you know, this is when it starts.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So the first thing that I normally ask people, it feels like the best way to sort of get into it, is what are your memorable experiences of playing games? You know, what are the things that you remember maybe from your childhood or from when you first started playing games that you go back to and think that was what really made you realise that you loved playing games, or that you really enjoyed playing video games? Things that you specifically remember.
I remember when I was a lot younger playing with my brother and my sister. Metal Slug in particular. I grew up in a family that always played games, and so it was something that was kind of instilled in me from a young age. I also remember playing the earlier FIFA games with my mates as well. Just good memories from those sorts of things, and I think that was sort of what shaped me into being a gamer nowadays.
Okay. Sure. And from your childhood, you said Metal Slug was one that you remember specifically enjoying. Is there anything else that you remember? Any sort of moments of games that you played that really stick with you?
I would say those are the main ones. I also remember playing a lot of PS2 demos, and just experiencing lots of different games for the first time.
Okay.
That was always interesting for me too.
Sure. And are there any specific kind of games that you enjoy playing?
I would say that I enjoy cooperative games, games that you can work with other people.
Okay, sure. Sure.
Mainly games that are team play, but I do enjoy single player games as well. Some shoot 'em up games or games with a nice in-depth story.
Okay. Any specific examples, maybe, of story-based games or co-op games that you enjoy playing?
I can't really think of any off the top of my head. There's been a few, but a lot of them sort of just get washed out of my memory because I've played so many of them.
Sure, sure, sure. Okay, and you mentioned you mentioned FIFA as one of the as a game that you enjoy playing with your friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
And is there something about playing a game with someone else that you enjoy specifically? Is it the fact that you're with a friend, or is it the fact that you're working together in the game? Do you think something like that?
I enjoy the social aspect of it. You know, I like catching up with my friends at the same time that I'm doing it.
Okay.
But I also enjoy the team-based aspect of it too. I like when it comes off when you're working with somebody else, rather as opposed to just yourself.
Sure.
Then it's more satisfying to me.
Yeah, definitely. And what about competitive games? Do you enjoy playing those?
I do sometimes. It depends on the specific game. I have to really enjoy the game to be able to get into the competitive aspect of it, because
Right, okay.
otherwise it can be quite frustrating.
Sure, sure. And what sort of things is it that you would say that game needs to have for you to enjoy the competitive side of it?
It has to be a good-looking game, nice graphics.
Right, okay.
I think that's been the sort of aspect for competitive games.
Sure.
Something that I'm good at,
Right, okay.
something that I can actually compete on a level with.
Right, okay.
It always helps when it's a game that you can also play with your friends as well.
Right, okay. So you like if it's competitive, but you're on a team at the same time, so you're playing against someone else.
Yeah.
Right, okay, cool. And you mentioned good graphics being a big part of a competitive game. Would you say that's the same for all games? Do you prefer games that have good graphics, or do you not too bothered?
I don't think so. Games that have good graphics are a bonus, but at the end of the day, it's a lot of the other factors that come into play.
Right,
I
okay.
think with a competitive game, I think the graphics just give it that sort of visual edge and makes it more satisfying to play.
Right, okay.
I struggle to play competitive games that don't look like they're AAA titles.
Right, okay. And why would you think that is? If you
I
can
think
answer that.
probably just because it's easier to play a game that's got better graphics.
Right, okay. In what sense do you mean easier?
I'd say that it's more difficult to play a game with worse graphics because it's harder to sort of get your bearings in the game, and I think my reaction times are worse with it as well.
Right, okay. So you say that your reaction times in a game are better if it's something that's more like real life.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right, okay. And before you mentioned that some of the games that you like have a really good story. Do games with a really good story need to have good graphics as well for you to like them, or are you not too bothered about that?
No, again, it's a plus. Graphics are always a plus, but at the end of the day, the story is captivating, then you sort of forget about the way that the game looks.
Okay. And when you're playing story-based games or competitive games, you said that there was a few different factors that played into whether or not you could engage with them. Does something like the camera angle have anything to do with that? Do you like a game that has a third-person or first-person camera?
For competitive games, I think it is important that you have a camera angle that you can easily approach the game from.
Okay.
If the camera angle's sort of skewed off out of center and you can't focus in on the game, then that can be frustrating.
Right. Okay. So that's more about maybe the mechanics of the game rather than the actual camera angle. It just has to play well.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. On to level 2. I think I've completed this game about 3 or 4 times. I've played it so much.
Yeah, me too.
And in story-based games, do are there any specific characters that you remember, or when you're playing a story-based game, do you prefer to be able to build your own character from scratch, or do you like it to be an already established character? So something like a difference between Skyrim and GTA 4, for example.
Well, it's funny you say that because I think the GTA characters are very memorable characters in their own right,
Sure.
but I've always enjoyed the option to customize a character because I think it sort of gives you that aspect of your own creation. Like you can decide your own build for your character. You can decide the way that they look, and then you can sort of take the story into your own hands a little bit,
Right. Okay.
rather
okay.
than relying on the characters that are already there.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Okay. And would you say that you engage more or identify more with the character when you create it yourself rather than one that's created for you?
I identify characters that are created by me more so, I would
Right.
say.
Okay. Okay.
I think I generally tend to carry aspects of myself into characters that I create
Okay.
without
Yeah.
really intentionally realizing it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's what I was going to lead up with next. I was going to say if you do enjoy ones where you can create your own character more, do you feel as if you create a character that represents yourself, or do you feel like you try and make something different? Oh,
I enjoy to make a character that represents at least a part of myself, but generally it's not me.
right. Okay. See, it has aspects of yourself, but different things as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Oh, dead again. And when you're playing with a immersive game, you know, a game where the mechanics are right, the graphics are right, the story's right, do you feel as if you identify as that character, or is it a case of you're controlling the character, or do you feel like you are the character?
I think you can get into a pattern of playing as a character when you know their personality and you know the sort of decisions that they would make.
Right. Okay.
Like, for example, Trevor in GTA 5.
Sure.
I find myself becoming quite a bit of a bad person when I play as him, just because I know that that's the way that his character is, and I can imagine it any other way.
Okay. No. You left me. Okay, so if it's a well-developed character, it doesn't have to be one created. Then you feel like you sort of become that character when you play as them.
Yes.
I think the GTA 5 is a good example there because of the fact that you can play as 3 different characters.
Yeah, and I do find myself playing separately as those characters.
Right. Okay.
Different things.
And is there a specific one of those characters that you prefer playing as more than others?
I would say Trevor,
Right. Okay.
just because I find his character the most interesting.
Sure. Sure. No, that's interesting. That's interesting. Oh, that was close. Nearly flew off with that canister there. And when you're playing games, do you prefer playing with a controller or a mouse and keyboard? Because I did an interview with someone recently who much preferred using a mouse and keyboard because it was more accurate.
I do get the sense that in terms of like competitive gaming that it is more accurate and more precise to use a mouse and keyboard, but because I've grown up using a controller, it's easier for me. I
Right,
enjoy
okay,
using a controller more as well. I think
Yeah,
it's a
no.
little bit more responsive.
Right, okay. Do it again.
3, 2, 1, let's go.
Alright, let's do this. And the Terminator. Oh, that was close.
I have no idea who I am, there's just too many characters in this game.
Wait, who are you now?
Leon.
Oh, Oh yeah. Have they added more characters to this game?
They have. They added a versus mode as well.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I don't think I've played it since they added that. Terminator is so hard to control. You know who the worst character in this game is?
Who's that?
Indiana Jones.
It's terrible. Whip is his only weapon.
Yeah, and it can't do anything. Oh.
Oh no.
Let's try again. So have you ever used video game mods before?
Yep, I have.
And do you know any specific examples of games that you've used them on?
I used a lot of mods in Skyrim.
Alright, okay, yeah.
I used the developer kit a little bit as well, just to mess around and see about making your own ones.
Right, okay, okay. And what sort of things did you make?
I just, I'm not very good at it, so I just changed the aesthetics of some characters in the game just to make them look a little bit more realistic and, I don't know, immersive.
Right, okay. Thank God I'm changed from Indiana Jones. Blade, who's one of the best characters, he absolutely destroys. Oh, I cannot, I don't know where I am. I'm still alive though. Yes, this is it. Yes, I'll wait for you. Oh, oh no! Sorry.
Nice jump.
Sorry. And what sort of mods did you download on Skyrim when you were playing with them?
I downloaded mods that improved on the mechanics that are already in the game, like the vampire mechanic.
Right, okay. And what did that mod entail?
It basically changed the whole skill set of the vampire class so that it was a little bit more detailed.
Right, okay.
Changed the way that the vampires look. Changed the way that they work, like in terms of the feeding and stuff like that.
Right, okay, okay. And what was it that brought you that mod to your attention? What was it that made you want to download it?
It was a mechanic that I already enjoyed in the game, and I just thought that maybe they could have done a little bit better with it. It was a little bit shallow, like there was things they could have easily added to make it more interesting that they didn't.
Right, okay. Okay, and if you download mods, would you say that's the main reason why? Because you feel like there's things that can be improved?
Yeah, I would say so, definitely.
Right, okay, cool. Oh, typical. Tiny little block kills me. Oh, this guy's not the best, but I do like him because he's funny. Take the turkey. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
You've done it now. Oh, watch out for the mines.
I'm going straight over them. Yes. There you go. Oh yeah, I could have punched it. How do you high five again?
Triangle.
Yeah, let's do this. Whoa, what the hell?
You
Just
just
came up
slowed
with a
down
chat.
time.
Yes, that was sick. Yes.
Awesome.
That was cool. That was cool. Right, let me try and think here what other questions I've got. We've covered most things already. Are there any sort of things that when you're playing games that you feel like take you out of the game?
Bad voice acting, Um,
Oh,
unnecessary cutscenes.
right. Okay.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of things that I think can take you out of a game.
And you said bad voice acting is one of the things that takes you out of the game. So something like a game that has very good voice acting and really good NPCs in it. Are those games that you find yourself enjoying? Do you feel like you can relate to characters that you don't play as in the game?
Yeah, absolutely. When it's well done, the writing's good, and as I said, the voice acting's good as well. I think sometimes silly moments in the game can put you off from it, but when everything's good, then definitely I can relate to characters in the game.
Okay. What's next? Are there any other games that you can think of since we've been speaking that you would say that are really memorable experiences for you? A level of a game maybe, or you know, a specific mission or a specific point in a game that you remember as being something that was a really cool moment or a really fun moment in a game? No! We're so close.
Playing the first GTA 4.
Okay.
It was the first time that I'd got on a HD TV,
Yeah.
and it obviously at the time was a very, very good looking game. It was probably the best looking game on the market.
Yeah, definitely.
Just enjoying that sort of feeling of being really immersed into the way that a game looks for the first time.
Yeah, definitely. I think that that's something that's definitely inherent in GTA 4 and in the other GTA games as well, is the graphics really do play into how immersive the games are. Jesus, we've got cool kicking off. Oh, of course, I'm Indiana Jones.
I think Circle is an alright special move.
Yep, just killed the helicopter with it.
Excellent.
Nice. Area liberated. And something that came up in an interview that I did the other day was they were talking about moral codes. They were talking about online games where there was a code that people sort of stood by. Is that something that you've ever encountered before?
Yeah, in the Bioshock games,
Uh-huh.
you sort of have the choice of being the good guy or the bad guy if you want to sort of try to save the city rapture that you're sort of thrown into,
Uh-huh.
or if you want to just basically take advantage of it and try to become a powerful like villain of sorts. And I found myself being the good guy in that game because I just felt so terrible. I felt like I was making the wrong decision if I tried to think of myself over
Right,
the
okay.
better aspects of the game.
Right, okay. And do you find yourself doing that in games often? Making what's seen as the morally good decision?
I think it depends on the game. If the game can make you feel like you're actually making a change or making a difference when you're a good character,
Okay.
then it's a lot easier to do. It's a lot easier to immerse yourself into and believe
Right,
it.
okay.
But when there's little or no feeling of like accomplishment.
Yeah, sure. So when the game's immersive and the game makes you feel like there's some sort of reward or something like that, then you feel like you are not obliged to, but you feel like you ought to make the right decision.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. And I think that's something that's interesting is that often translates onto online games as well. Yeah, so something, for example, like FIFA, when people score what's called like a sweaty goal or a Jew goal. It's something that's sort of known by everyone that you're not meant to do it, and a lot of people stick by it because they see it as the right thing to do, which I think is quite interesting in a game that's entirely competitive based and it's about defeating your opponent. And that within the rules of the game, it's not against the rules, but people choose not to do it anyway. And would you find yourself doing that as well?
I think when I'm playing with my friends, even though it's competitive and we are trying to beat each other, it is that sort of aspect of you don't want to be cheap, you don't want to be that person that, like, doesn't give them the opportunity to have a fair game.
Right, okay.
But when I'm playing online competitively, because it's people I don't know and I don't really care about if the game's fair for them.
Right, okay,
I'm
yeah,
just basically doing it to win.
Sure.
And I'm not bothered.
Right, okay, so it changes depending on who you're playing with.
Yeah, I think the bottom line of it is that I personally see it as something that's not fair in the game.
Sure.
But I prefer to be competitive and use it if I can.
Right, okay, okay.
For my own benefit.
Sure, sure. Just destroy those dogs there. Oh, ridiculous. That thing literally went right under my feet. Oh, that's that. Yes, I think that's...
I wanted to say that it's similar as well to like games like Call of Duty and Battlefield, where you have people that just sit and camp. I don't do that personally. That's an example of where I do just find something to be like abusing the game and not morally right, and I don't do that in any situation.
Right, okay, yeah, sure, sure. Yeah, and I think that's quite interesting that if you, like something that I think is quite interesting that's related to that is people who speedrun games. So when they're playing it by themselves, like I don't know if you've ever seen any people who've done speedruns before of games, but the games look almost unplayable. The games look completely broken because they found all these weird workarounds of how to get through a certain level or beat a certain boss. Like, have you seen anything like that yourself?
Yeah, I've watched a fair few speedruns myself, and I know exactly what you're talking about. They abuse every part of the game that they can in order to play the game. I mean, that's the way that they're playing.
Definitely, and that's just the way that they enjoy playing the game.
Yeah.
But it's strange that when it becomes an online context that people feel differently about it because there's another person involved in it. So if for example Mirror's Edge was an online game and it was a race, then people would probably be pretty annoyed about the fact that pretty annoyed if someone did all the stuff that you could do in a speedrun in that game. But because it's a single player, then it's okay.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, definitely.
And is it something that you've ever tried to do yourself?
A game I played recently, I used some of the techniques that I saw in speedrunning just to make the game a little bit easier, sort of cheat.
Yeah,
There's a way to jump a lot further in this game, and you can get through certain parts of the game that you wouldn't normally be able to.
Right, okay. And what game is this?
Salt and Sanctuary.
Salt and Sanctuary, right? Okay, and that's like a sort of like Dark Souls, right? But it's 2D.
Exactly, yeah, and it's a local co-op. I was playing it with my dad at the time,
Uh-huh.
so it wasn't online. There wasn't a competitive edge to it. It was just me and him. We
Yeah.
sort of had the same goal in the game, which was just to make it that little bit easier.
Okay. Nice. Destroyed the devil. Is there anything else that's popped into your mind that we haven't covered already, related to maybe your experiences of playing games? Anything that you feel like is maybe different for you as other people in the way that you play games, or the types of games that you like, or that sort of thing?
No, I can't think of anything.
Cool. Well, I think that's us then. If you can't think of anything else. In which case I'll stop the recording and see if this thing's recorded. Just give me 2 seconds, Wes. I'm just going to pause it if I can. Did that pause it for you?
No.